I'm Melody Hart. I'm a senior consultant at Strategic Treasure. I have with me Mohan Murali, who is from Axletree. Mohan, can you give us a background of what your role is at Axletree?
Thank you, Melody. Thank you for having me here. For Axletree, I'm the CEO and president. My role is more technology, direction, architecture, and strategy. On the operations, I have folks who manage the day-to-day operations, both on the technology side and on the business side. My role is to give guidance on where new technologies are going, evaluate them, and guide the company in the right direction. That's my role.
For those of you who may or may not be familiar with FBar, it is a requirement, and it's important. All these things tie together. EBAM, account controls, bank account structure, visibility. What about your perspective on this?
I think what you show here is right. More than FBar is really a big game changer for several corporations that are operating in US as well as in other countries, and not realizing that FBar is not just a report. It needs all the items that are mentioned at the bottom, below the surface, that have to be ready before you can file a proper FBar. Yeah. So it's a very good depiction of what a true FBar requirements are.
Yeah, that's true, because you can't really file your foreign bank accounts for individuals until you have a handle on where those bank accounts are, what the balances are, and who the signers are. So the definition of signers for FBar purposes isn't just your usual signers. It includes anyone who has the ability to disperse money out of an account, whether or not they're doing it alone or with someone else. So it includes all of your people on electronic banking who are able to do wire transfers, whether they're initiators, approvers, or releasers. So it would include all of that. So all that information across the globe has to be collected and put into some format and ready for uploading to FinCEN. And uploading is not a simple thing of an Excel spreadsheet. It's a much more complicated effort. So we've done some research on this. We do surveys, and what we've found is people who don't have any plans to do anything about it is 26%. Now the surprising thing about this now, granted, this started in 2010 and they've been delaying it every year, but they don't take away the requirement for past years. So if you filed in 2013, you filed 2010 through 2013. If you filed next year, you're going to file all the way back to 2010. And it becomes much more difficult to get that information the farther time goes along, because you have to recreate who the signers were. FinCEN just came out this past year, and they changed the deadline. It used to be June 30th, so they kept rolling it. They said, no, now it's going to be April 15th of 2017. You got to file.
And that's for everybody, corporates and individuals.
Yes. If you think that you're not going to be able, you think that, oh, it's not really required, and then they don't delay, you're going to be up a creek if you hadn't put in place all the infrastructure you need to capture that data. And they don't have a provision for you yourself asking for an extension. Another thing we found is that 29% expect to provide signers with necessary information so they can file on their own. So for your individuals who are signers on the account, and what we're talking about, because there's three parts. There's the FBar, which is the corporate filing of your bank accounts. There is the FBar that an individual, if I own an account that is my own account overseas, I would have to file. And then there's the one for people who are signers on the corporate account but don't have any financial interest. And that's the population we're talking about right now. So some of them, the companies are going to say, well, we're going to give the people their information, they have to file on their own. That's 29%. And 24% expect to file on behalf of the signers because they have the information, so they'll go ahead and do the filing. And 16% have already completed it. So it's still a low percentage that have completed it, and that deadline is coming closer. So how would a corporation get ready for this?
First and foremost, a corporation needs to have a good inventory of all their bank accounts, and the signers on those bank accounts. And I think one level above that is all their internal subsidiaries and business legal entities that they have control over a 51% shareholding capacity. Then within those entities on which they have a majority shareholding, what are the bank accounts, and within those bank accounts, who are the signers. Once they have that information, they need to have the bank balances reported over the last 12 months from January to December, and that has, if they're not filed up to now, they have to do from 2010 up to 2016, and then get all that information submitted by April 15th.
Yeah, and that's quite a task.
There's a lot of task preparation. There's a lot of manual work to be done beforehand in ensuring all the data is put into the system. If they have an automated system like a Treasury system with a FBar module, then they can push all the data into it and configure all the bank accounts and signers. Then the system will be able to automatically generate the required information, which can be exported and then filed by the individual finance managers or whoever has to file it. Like on this side, the individual signers, everybody has to file on their own. The corporate cannot designate one person, say you file on behalf of everybody if they are having individual countries. So preparation is very key to this.
Why is the organization of bank accounts so important?
The reason is bank accounts keeps varying. Some are dormant, some are very active, and the balances can go more than $10,000. One of the requirements of FBar is to ensure that if you have an account that contributes to the $10,000 high balance, then you have to add that account. So the managing the bank account properly and keeping control on what the balances are and organizing it by entity, by signers is very critical. So that when you have to submit it, you can do it much faster and better.
So if I were just starting out in this process, and I were a corporate starting out on the process, and I have to go through all of this to organize my bank accounts, how would I best do that? I mean, it's kind of a short timeline.
Yes, it's a short so you need to first catch hold of somebody who understands the process, get them on board as a consultant engagement to analyze your environment, and then put in place a project plan as to how quickly it can be done. And then once that is done, where the design is there as to how much time effort is going to take, the next step is to put a system in place. It could be a very simple FBar module of an existing TMS that you can put on place and then start feeding the data into it, configuring it and seeing it. So if you do that, then the application can generate all the FBar reports for templates for you to go and actually do the actual submission much quicker and accurately. The key thing is to plan and get the right planning, somebody knowledgeable into the organization to start planning with you if you're not done.
Okay. And your system itself, does your system have any of this capability?
Yes, the Axletree's Treasury Tree is the name of the module, the application. In that there's a FBar module under BAM, or Bank Account Management, that captures the entities, it captures the signers, account numbers, the banks, and all those information that's required. And if once that information is captured and you feed all the BAIs and 940s or other statements from the banks for the duration that you need to file, then it automatically generates the reports. It also does an audit check to tell you what's missing. If some signers are missing, or account managers are missing, finance managers are missing, all that balances are missing, it will alert you, so you can do a quick check to ensure that everything is in place before you go and submit it.
Okay, and then I understand there's a difference that some systems do capturing data and some systems say they automate data. What's the difference between capturing and automating? Isn't it the same thing?
It sounds similar, but there is a difference. Most of the times the corporate cash managers or the treasury people, they'll input the data automatically into a system, but then they have to go and see what's missing, what areas are missing, is there accurate information, have the balances gone up. So there's a lot of manual processes they have to do once the information has been captured. Whereas automation is get the information captured, automatically analyze everything and throw out the result, so that there's less time required to manually look at the data and then see what the anomalies are.
Okay, I see. So what you're saying is that sometimes some systems may or may not, they may store the information for you.
But analyzing it, somebody has to do manually.
Okay,
Whereas
I see.
if an automated system, treasury automation system is there, then it will automatically analyze the data and
Yeah.
throw out exceptions, throw out audit failures, and then
Okay.
come out with the reports.
Okay, so it's to ease the manual burden.
Absolutely. Automation is key.
So is there anything else you'd like to comment on in terms of FBar and your role with it?
I think reading what I've read on the news, FBAR is not to be taken lightly. It's not, they have been constantly extending the time frame, but they are going to come back with penalties quicker than later. They've been saying, okay, we given you time till 2015 to file from 2010, then 2016 to file from 2010. And if you're not, at some point they're going to pull the plug and say, if you're not filed for the previous years from 2010 to then, they may even put penalties. So that means it has to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And it is not a simple dedicating somebody to the job and telling them you get the job done. Everybody, the whole organization, all of those who have interest in an account, have an authority on an account, have to take this seriously and submit this,
Yeah.
prepare for it and so on.
Yeah, and there's very big fines with this, as I
Absolutely.
understand.
Minimum is
Yes.
$10,000. That's a big money.
Well, thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for coming and sharing that with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.